Jalen is the key to the series for the Boston side of this because as we talk about everybody keeping two with your best player, which is what we're going to see with Tatum. And then sometimes like Giannis is going to start on Tatum. It was Wesley Matthews and he's going to beat on you. He's going to get physical. They're going to send you to help. Two are going to stay there. And that's where we've seen at times where Jalen can absolutely go off because he's kind of single coverage the rest of the way, or sometimes even a 4-on-3 advantage. So he has to make you pay, and he will make another, unless he's totally hurt here with the hamstring thing. At some point, he's going to make you pay, but he also can get really sloppy with the basketball. He just can. I was texting about it with you a couple of weeks ago. Like, I feel like Jalen doesn't get enough credit for how just incredibly bad he can be at passing the basketball at times.
Whole Nets series, the first three quarters of every Nets game, the ball was all over the place.
But he does so many other things good that you're like, all right, okay, fine. You know, some of the high volume guys can turn it over a little bit. But I mean, if you look at the line, Jalen 12, 9, and 4 of 13 shooting and 7 turnovers, that looks way better than what it was watching it. So if he's hurt, if Smart is hurt, you're right. Boston has, to the most part, the Williams thing, but then coming into game one here, no minutes restrictions on the pregame stuff. You're going, this is really lined up for Boston. No Middleton, right? Philadelphia's dealing with their stuff. I don't know if Miami thought so little of Atlanta. They were like, hey, you want to just rest Butler too and Lowry in an elimination
as a thought
game?
Experiment?
Yeah. So let's just do that. Oh, and we're going to beat you anyway. You've got the Booker issue. Golden State feels healthy. Memphis is healthy. But I mean, look, at least on the east side of things, you're going, this is really lining up for Boston. And for them to get pushed around like this, and we knew there was going to be 3 points available from them, okay? Because Milwaukee allows opponents to shoot almost 41 threes a game. It's most of the NBA. And
it's kind of their game plan.
But they don't really defend it all that well because they're 19th in opponents' percentage from 3-point at like 36%. And if you look at, which is kind of a waste of the time, some of the advanced stuff through the first round of the playoffs, it's all so matchup dependent. And Milwaukee has not been, since the All-Star break, some great defensive team. They were 20th in defense. And so even though those numbers are really good in the first round, they were playing the Bulls, who may be, including the play-in teams, the worst team of the 20, not the 16.
Yeah.
Like they barely had a 5 that they could even put out the floor in a playoff game against Milwaukee. So, Milwaukee, maybe they just, sometimes it happens with Drew Holiday too. Like I'll see regular season games. I go, where is he at defensively? And then you watch a game where he's pissed or it's a perimeter guy and the way he just wears you out, but stays upright and stays in front of you. It's exhausting just to try to bring the ball up against that guy. So maybe Milwaukee, because the Chicago thing, I couldn't even tell what it meant because the Bulls are so bad. But maybe this is, even without Middleton, the wake-up call for Boston, who thought they took care of what still feels like a talented Brooklyn team that they smacked.
The box scores can be so deceiving. Drew is 25, 9, and 5, 3 steals. That's a good game on a box score. I thought he was even better than that. I thought he was dominant. And I thought he was playing. I thought the whole Bucks team, we just heard for the last 6 days, including on this podcast, the Celtics are in the driver's seat. No Middleton. Game 7 at home, Milwaukee gave that away. All stuff I said. The team today was like the Bucks team we saw today was one of those, this is why we're the fucking champs game. There's that great story in Breaks of the Game, which I always mention when the year after they win the title, the 77 Blazers, and they're in LA.
Don't spoil it.
It's a prequel to Winning Time. Then Lloyd Neal, they beat the shit out of somebody. I think it was the Lakers. And in the locker room after, and Lloyd Neal was like, that's why we're the fucking champs. And when you win a title, you get a lot of residue from that. And you also, every once in a while, you get annoyed when you get discounted. All they did was beat the Bulls in 5, right? They lingered all year. They had basically the same record as the Celtics. And then they lost Middleton. And people like me are like, yep, they're done. Celtics are going to beat them. And I think I thought Giannis, especially, the scary thing to me, he was 24, 13, and 12. It felt like he has a whole other level to go. That like there's a version of today's game where he also had 42 points. I thought he was missing shots that he normally makes.
Look, they defended him well. Like those Horford replays where they were showing him. I mean, he's 9 of 25. They did a really good job against him. He only took 11 free throws and he started missing those again. So that's something else to track. But it's Giannis's playmaking. And it's not just the
passing.
It's not just the gravity that Giannis is you're freaked out. As soon as he's coming over half court, he's got any kind of momentum. You're like, all right, this is probably going to suck. and now he's whipping it out like I don't know if it's Doncic prime Harden ISO Houston stuff where Harden felt like he was a wizard with it, but you also over time, like with Doncic, when where guys are supposed to be positioned. I mean, hell, it happened with a play with Ja today where he was engulfed. Like he disappeared. I couldn't see him in the bodies, and he threw a pass behind his back to the right corner. And it's because these guys know, hey, don't move. That's why when you see somebody throw it out of bounds and the guy's off, they'll get pissed at the player in the perimeter being like, don't move. And Giannis has all that stuff down. And then, which I've dug into before, and I should share this on the pod, I looked at his shot chart stuff in the mid-range from last year to this year. It's two different players. It's fucking crazy.
Well, it was that breakthrough he had in the playoffs last year.
The Celtics get slapped around, and Giannis didn't even have to go nuclear on him. And I thought they held up pretty well defensively because, I mean, the guy's going to get 30 and 15 doing nothing, but it's also the part of how he's impacting the rest of the stuff without him even being a shooting threat, which is kind of insane. And one last thing, too, you mentioned Drew. When he knocked Smart, he knocked the shit out of him backwards, and Smart didn't get the charge call. And if you flop all the time like Smart does, I'm not going to give you the benefit of the doubt there. That was also, I think, another Drew moment where he was like, "You look at this. Like you can't even hang with me. I'm going to knock you over." So I don't know. I don't know if it means Boston's completely out of their league. I would like to think that a team that showed us they were mentally tough the last 3 months. I think Udoka had that timeout after this wasn't even misses. Do you remember the timeout after just?
I was going to bring that up to you when he was so fucking pissed.
Well, I was going to tell you because they were just awful for like a 3-minute stretch, and he calls a timeout after the last mistake, and he goes, "Yo, what the fuck, man?"
Right. As he's going back to the bench.
And I was that. Like, now I love him. Because it was weird when they weren't winning. We're like, so what does this guy do? Just yell at everybody and say you keep doing things wrong? But it's funny because if he had been around, we go, that's it. He's coaching him up. He's coaching him hard. And then we're constantly talking about how NBA coaches don't want to give the players a hard time and they all have to be pushovers to make sure they don't offend anybody. And Udoka's like, immediately going, he just wants to be like, hey, can we call a timeout to talk about how stupid you've been for 3 minutes?
I'm disgusted. Timeout. I voted Drew first team all defense. I did not vote Giannis first team all defense. I couldn't put 2 Bucks on there because their defense as a whole just wasn't that good.
Not by the standards.
And I was like, I just can't put 2 Bucks. So then I had Bridges, Jaren Jackson, and Bam, and Smart and Drew. And I know there were some metrics that were they talk about like Fred VanVleet's better than you think defensively and stuff like that. I was just like, I'm riding with Drew Holiday and Marcus Smart as the backcourt of my first team all defense. Those are still, to me, the standard for defensive guards. Drew is awesome. I'm with you on the Udoka thing.